She smiled while stealing my happiness. Nobody expected Irene to find love at 38. Not her mother, not her church members, and definitely not her younger sister. But what no one saw coming was that the biggest threat to her happiness was sitting at the same dining table, calling her sister. If you love stories where dignity wins and jealousy exposes itself, stay with me. At family gatherings, laughter filled the room. Plates clinked. Music played softly in the background. Ah, Irene is glowing these days, oh. Maybe miracle has finally located her, Auntie Ruth whispered. At 38, Cousin Tola added under her breath. Irene smiled politely and said, "More rice, Auntie?" She pretended not to hear. Then her mother's voice came, soft but sharp. "At least Zara still has time. 25 is still fresh." And just like that, Irene's smile tightened. In that house, Irene was the expired version. Zara was the upgraded model. Then David appeared. He didn't arrive with noise. He arrived with consistency. In the elevator one evening, he said calmly, "You always leave work last." Irene laughed slightly. "Someone has to keep the building running." He looked at her carefully and asked, "And who keeps you running?" Something shifted in that silence. He didn't look at her like she was running out of time. He looked at her like she was rare. Over coffee one afternoon, David said gently, "I don't see age when I look at you. I see stability." Irene replied carefully, "Men don't usually choose stability. They choose sparkle." He smiled. "Then they don't know what lasts." And for the first time in years, her defenses cracked. She told Zara first, "His name is David. He listens. He's intentional." Zara hugged her tightly. "Finally, sister, you deserve this." But when Irene turned away, Zara's smile faded. Sometimes applause hides competition.
It is. The
first dinner together was warm and comfortable. "You're so funny, David," Zara laughed, touching his arm lightly. "You and your sister are very different," David observed politely. Zara smiled. "Oh, we've always been compared." And she glanced at Irene. Then the interruptions began. "It's Zara," Irene said one night when her phone rang during dinner. "Let me just..." "Again?" David replied, forcing a tight smile. Another evening, Zara showed up uninvited. "I was nearby. I hope I'm not interrupting." Perfect makeup, strong perfume. "Of course not," Irene said with a controlled smile. Interruptions became patterns. Patterns became strategy. One night, Irene arrived at David's apartment earlier than planned. The door was slightly open. She heard laughter inside. Then Zara's soft voice. "She's fragile, David. You know that. After being alone so long, she's desperate." Silence. Then David's hesitant reply. "I hadn't thought about it that way." In that moment, Irene's heart didn't break. It stopped begging. Days later, David's messages came repeatedly. "Are you okay? Did I do something? Can we talk?" Irene stared at her phone. She didn't reply. Because when a woman stops explaining, she has already decided. At the next family party, Zara sat close to David again. She leaned in, touched his arm, laughed a little too easily. Their mother watched approvingly and whispered to a friend, "Those two actually look good together." Irene heard it. And something inside her shifted. Not pain, clarity. When David finally asked Irene what changed, she looked at him calmly. "If someone can convince you I'm not enough, then I was never enough for you." "That's not fair," he said. "Neither is doubt planted by someone who calls me sister." He froze. She stood up. "I won't compete for what should recognize me naturally." And she walked away. Later, Zara confronted him angrily. "So you're choosing her?" David answered quietly. There was never a choice. And in that moment, he saw it. Jealousy is loud when it loses. Months later, he came back. "I was blind. I let someone else narrate your value." Irene loosened. "If we try again," she said, "it will be with boundaries." "Agreed," he replied. They sat across each other, equal. And in the end, Irene stood alone in her apartment one evening, looking out at the city lights. Her victory was not winning David back. Her victory was refusing to beg. At 38, she was not late, not desperate, not expired. She was complete. What hit you hardest in this story? Was it when she walked away, or when she refused to compete? Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? And if you love African stories where dignity wins over drama, follow me on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube, Usman22 Studio. More powerful stories are coming.